Hi, you're on Wisdom of Love. My name is Lorenz, and today I'm with Pandit. He's Hindu chaplain at Columbia and NYU University. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So my name is Pandit. In addition to being the chaplain at Columbia and NYU, I've been a Hindu monk for the last 14 years, living right here in the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
So I'm really interested about your perspective on love. What does love mean to you?
Well, love means that the interests and concerns of the beloved take precedence over one's own needs and concerns. That means if the beloved, the one you care for, is in any way in need, whether small or big, physical, financial, emotional, that no matter what we're doing at that time, at that point in time, we're willing to put our activity aside, our interest aside, and be willing to respond to the call of our friend or our beloved.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like an element of sacrifice.
Sacrifice and love, I feel, go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Because sacrifice really means putting aside your own needs and putting the needs of the other. And sacrifice means that you're ready to serve.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're ready to sacrifice your time, then you're ready to do something for the beloved. So sacrifice and service combined equal love, I would say.
So what's the relationship between love towards oneself and love towards another?
Love towards oneself and love towards another. Well, I think we've already talked a little bit about love towards another,
mm-hmm.
right? Willing to sacrifice our time and willing to serve. Because it's easy to tell someone, hey, I love you. But when they call for help, are we willing to act on it? Or are we making an excuse that I'm really busy right now and I can't really do this for you? So true love, from my perspective, is serving and sacrificing without an expectation attached to it.
No,
it's unmotivated
mm-hmm.
Service. It's unmotivated love, where I'm giving, but I'm not expecting anything. It's very much like the relationship that exists between a mother and a child. Now, love for oneself, in this world, I think we understand love for ourselves as love for the body.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm coming from a slightly different paradigm. And the culture now is very bodily centered. I love myself, that means I'm always focused on how I look and how I feel. It doesn't really matter how much others feel, how I feel, how I look, how others perceive me, and how I'm perceived by the world. And so everything we do to love ourselves, our love of ourselves right now is kind of dependent on how much others love us. If others like us, then we feel okay about ourselves. If others don't, that affects my ability to love myself. So we're always so busy projecting an image of ourselves onto, not a true image, a Facebook image, smiley, happy, cheery, yes, I'm conquering the world image, so that others can say, hey, you look great, thanks. When somebody says that, I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But our love of ourselves shouldn't be dependent on the image that we project. We need to be able to be satisfied with who we are. But in order for us to be satisfied with who we are, and in order for us to be able to love ourselves, we have to know who we are at the core, beyond this body.
Mm-hmm. So who are we?
Mm-hmm. So I'll bring in the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which explain, the Bhagavad Gita is one of the most prominent Hindu texts,
mm-hmm.
one of the favorite texts of Gandhi. He always walked around with it. And the Bhagavad Gita explains that while the body and the mind are part of who we are, the true essential nature of who we are, the true person, is actually the spirit soul. That is living in the body. So we are living in the body. Mm-hmm. We are not the body, we are living in the body.
So what does it mean to have a sense of true love towards oneself? What would that look like?
True love for oneself, first of all, we have to know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's explained that the soul, the spirit soul, we are made up of love.
Mm.
We are made up of eternity. That means we're not subjected to disease and death. That's what the soul is. It's eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Only the body's matter that decays and dies. The soul doesn't. So we're made up of eternity. We're made up of knowledge that we're conscious of everything. And we're also made up of bliss, happiness. And the reason we're made up of these three things is because we're connected with the Supreme Soul, which is the divine, or who I call Krishna. And which means all attractive one. So because we're connected with the Supreme Soul through meditation and yoga, when we understand who we are, when we're connected with the Supreme Soul, then there's love for ourselves, but there's also natural love for everyone, because then we see everyone connected with the Supreme.
Everyone as an aspect of ourselves.
Yes, as an aspect of the Supreme, as a brother and sister. Humans, animals, everyone. We actually see everyone.
So does love as a concept play a big factor in Hinduism?
Definitely, definitely. Love on many levels. On all levels, actually, there's love comes into play. It starts off from the basic, from love of the planet, respecting, like we talked about the whole mother-child analogy. We have actually, Hinduism says that we have to see the planet Earth as our mother. It's a living organism. You put something inside, something comes out of it. Right? She allows things to grow. She gives us everything we need for our sustenance: food, water, clothing. Everything we need, we get from the earth. So there has to be that kind of love and care and respect. Because with love comes care and respect also. That just has to come along with it. There's no such thing as love without care and respect. So then there's also love for the animals, as we talk about, and therefore the Hinduism promotes vegetarianism. That means if I'm loving the earth, I got to love the creatures of the earth. No need to cause pain and suffering. Like we talk about love and respect, or care and respect. Respect means we don't cause emotional or physical harm to another, unless they're threatening us in some way.
Can we love others without having a genuinely loving relationship with ourselves? In the context of true love towards oneself, can you have true love for another?
I'm not sure. I think I'd have to think about that a little bit. But I think if we do it both simultaneously, you can't go wrong.
Good point. So you mentioned briefly kind of Hinduism having an understanding of love on different levels. So we've talked about love towards oneself, towards the planet, towards others. Are there any other levels of love in Hinduism?
Love towards God.
Right.
That's the ultimate love that we should be aspiring for according to the teachings of Hinduism. That once we have that connection, because that's the source of all beauty and love, that Krishna means all attractive. And our senses, our mind and senses, are always pulling us towards things that are attractive. Beautiful music, beautiful smells, beautiful sights, sounds. Well, all of that attractiveness and beauty is coming from the divine. And imagine if we could just go right to the source of it all, where everything is getting its beauty from. Would there be anything in our life that we would need? The mind would be thrilled at every moment, actually. Not once in a while, at every moment. It would be completely satisfied. So that is the highest kind of love. And if once we have that, then actually, or as we get that gradually, then we are simultaneously able to love others without motivation, without expectation, and also love ourselves. But all these have to be cultivated simultaneously. Love for ourselves, understanding who we are, love for others, the planet, the animals, other people, and love of God. All of this has to be cultivated simultaneously. It's not like I'm going to learn to love myself first.
Right.
And it's not going to work like it. Has to be a simultaneous endeavor.
It's almost it's almost like one love that's applied in many different ways, but in understanding the core of aspect, maybe in connecting with the core aspect of love in any one dimension, you maybe begin to experience it in every dimension.
Yeah, and especially if we're starting to really cultivate a relationship with the divine, with God, that love will, our eyes will be able to, and our heart will be able to feel love from others. Throughout my spiritual practice, what I've learned is that unless we remove things like envy and anger, greed and pride from the heart, we're not going to be able to love somebody. Because these things will always come in the way of our love. They'll always interfere with love. Greed, again, wanting more. That then will neglect our relationship with the person we care for. we have envy, we might envy their success. You know, if our spouse or our brother or sister like get into the school that we wanted to get into, or got the raise that we wanted, or got the guy or girl that we wanted, there's going to be that envy. You know, there's going to be that competitiveness. So that's how my understanding of love has evolved. That until and this is all part of the process of learning to love God and myself and others, is also removing these things from the heart and mind.
Is there a process for that?
I think there's many processes to do this. The process that really worked for me very powerfully, and that I've been practicing for 15, 16 years now, is the process of mantra meditation, where I engage in reciting sacred sound vibrations, the names of God, in a way that I can hear myself reciting the sounds. And then these sounds enter the mind and enter the heart, because they're names of God. I'm having a connection with God. And then when God enters the heart, God purifies the heart.
And it's almost, it sounds like you're describing something that is almost automatically purifying. You don't need to kind of consciously go in there and identify it and take it out, or is there an aspect of that as well?
It's both. It automatically happens, but the more you focus on it, the more results you'll get. You know, like you can do work, but if you really focus, you notice it finishes faster. It's the more you're aware of it, you know, you're cooking, and if you don't, you're like, a little burnt here, okay, you saved the prep, it didn't get burnt. But if you're just focused, you finish faster, it comes out just the way you want it.
Much more mindful about it.
Much more mindful, yeah, much more focused, and definitely the outcome is also is reflective of our consciousness.
So you just wrote a book. It's called Urban Monk. It's about your experiences as an urban monk. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, when people think of monks, they generally think of monks living in monasteries, in the forests, near mountains. So the idea of what's an urban monk, that's almost contradictory. But I live in a city. You know, there's no mountains here. There's hardly any trees here. I'm surrounded by buildings and, you know, foot traffic, car traffic, restaurants, nightclubs, bars, tattoo shops, all kinds of things. So it's my journey into spiritual life and also into monastic life. And people are always wondering, what do you do as a monk in New York? So I kind of talk about what I do as a monk in New York, why I'm here, and why I'm not living under a tree somewhere. And the reason is because I feel like there's a lot of loneliness and stress in the city, even though there's so many people. And that's, of course, a cause of stress.
People need a lot of love.
People need a lot of love, they need a lot of compassion, and I think people need spiritual practice to deal with all the stresses. And so I've kind of placed myself here to be able to reach out and teach meditation to people, teach spiritual techniques and practices where one can be empowered to remove stress and get in touch with themselves and learn a little bit about God, because we keep ourselves so busy in a place. New York's one of the most stressful cities on the planet. This is where it's really needed. So for at least a part of my life, I'd like to be here and giving back the teachings that have helped me so much, because I've gone through many ups and downs in my own life, and the spiritual teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and Hinduism really helped me in a very universal way. And so I think that what I've gotten so much, so I just want to kind of give back for as long as I can in New York City.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've started reading it. It's great. It's a really good story. Pandit's a really great guy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.